Welcome back to Image Breaker. The year 1850 is displayed as the film begins. In addition, a writer of sufficient renown appears. This author was not a local but had traveled to meet someone. This author knocks on the door of a residence. However, the resident lady requests that the author return, because she considered him to be any customer. However, the author tells the woman about himself, that I am a writer and not a client. While opening the door, this woman calls the writer, whom she instantly recognizes. This author met her husband at this residence, and that woman's husband was named Thomas, who was a senior citizen. This author had approached Thomas to inquire about a story. However, Thomas humiliates the author as soon as he meets him. Are you mad? Have you traveled a great distance to meet with me? However, the author disregards the wrath of Thomas. He tells Thomas that he has come to hear a story. In this instance, the author offers Thomas money. I will give you all of my money if you tell that true story. Saying it, that writer also presents his entire payment before Thomas, but Thomas refuses this proposal. And he says to the writer, go and check the government history, you will get that story from there. But that writer says to Thomas, I need to hear that real story from you. I don't need to check the government's history. Hearing it, Thomas is infuriated at that writer, and he asks him to leave from there. Thomas also declares that I know nothing. Being worried, that writer begins to leave from there, but Thomas's wife does not let the writer go from there. Thomas' wife pardons the writer because of her husband's attitude, stepping in. Thomas's wife requests the writer not to mind anything about her husband, because Thomas did not yet reveal anything about that story to anyone, including me. Thomas's wife requests her husband be here, going to him, so that he may tell his story about that incident that they had faced. At last, Thomas consents to tell the story at the request of his wife. The other fact is this: they were very poor, they needed money. Thomas has also agreed due to this need. Thomas calls that writer near him, and he says to him, I will tell you the story to that extent, which will be bearable to you. Because it was not a fictional story but a tragedy. Thomas tells us, it was such an incident in my life that changed me. Now Thomas begins to tell his story. In 1820, it was the time when whales were hunted in the sea. The whale was hunted because its oil was rare. Most people used to trade whale's oil. It was not on an ordinary basis among them, but people were lovers of whaling and extracting its oil. Even the people used to gamble on it. Which ship will get more oil among the sailing ships in the sea? A person named Owen is also shown there. Owen used to serve a company. He also had a wife. It means that he was satisfied with his life. It was a whaling company for which Owen used to work. It is obvious that this company was made for whale oil trading. Owen meets that company's owner. They tell Owen that they are sailing a very expensive ship in the sea for whaling. They inform Owen that we are going to send you, hiring you as a ship's head. Knowing it, Owen gets confused, because they had promised Owen that you would be the captain of the ship next time, but they took their words back, because they were hiring a captain for someone else. And their expected captain's name was George. Actually, George was the son of the company's owner. The company whaler again promises Owen that they will hire him as a captain next time. Owen's wages are increased because of his abilities, so Owen agrees with them, and he says to them, sign a contract that you will hire me as a captain next time. Then it is seen that Owen was preparing himself for sailing. Owen's wife was not satisfied with his departure. She says to Owen, promise me that you will return soon, alive. Owen's wife also makes him put on a locket, so Owen may remember his promise. Afterwards, the same boy, George, who was a captain, is shown. There was also George's father. His father says to him, my son, go and return after getting triumph. Then all whalers gather at a place. There is a crowd in the city to send them off. There is a young boy named Thomas also shown there. Yes, he is the young storyteller who has grown old now. Thomas, who was sailing in the sea for whaling first time. There was Owen's childhood friend on the ship, along with other friends. After this, Captains George and Owen meet each other. Here, a conflict starts between them, because George was putting a heavy hand on Owen as being captain, but Owen could not take any action as a subordinate. Because George was a captain, then they sail and ship creates a problem sailing at a distance. It was seeming as ship as entrapped at a place, but Owen resolves the risky situation using his skills. It is clear that Owen was able to do it because he was experienced, but Captain George was totally opposite. It means he was not skilled and capable. So he feels the twinge of envy, witnessing such skills as Owen's. So he takes revenge on Owen at the dining table at night. George degrades Owen too much. That you are a layman and the son of a farmer. Owen was unable to tolerate this humiliation, but he could not take any action, So he leaves from there. And he says to his companions that we will have to get up early in the morning. It is noted on that ship that laymen used to be avoided there, they were rather considered lower. The next day, George again commanded Owen. Now Owen had to carry out George's command reluctantly. Then Owen witnesses a storm at sea. He shares with George that there is a storm at sea ahead, which is a threat for us. So we should retreat our ship. Disagreeing with Owen, George commands to sail the ship in the sea storm. Sailing into the sea storm, they are caught there. Owen is also shouting at the storm at sea that the ship must be retreated as soon as possible, but George had been showing his waywardness until now. And he makes the ship sail into the sea storm. In doing so, there was a threat to their lives and shipwrecking. Anyhow, they come out of the storm. After this, George orders Owen that you will apologize to me before everyone. And we will sail our ship towards our island. It means that we will retreat without whaling. But Owen tries his best to explain to George that, look, try to understand the situation. We cannot return empty-handed, because it is the matter of the lives of many people. They are waiting for us to return while taking the oil with us, and Owen convinces George here. So they begin to sail ahead rather than retreat. Then a time is shown after 3 months, and they sail to a part of the sea where a lot of whales are present. They sail on their ship for whaling. Then Owen attacks a whale. First of all, that whale tries its best to move aside. Later, it is over. Afterwards, they pull that whale onto the ship. And they started to extract the oil from it. They have to send someone into the whale. So they send Thomas into the whale because of his small size. Many days pass without hunting. Now they were not getting more hunting. And the biggest trouble was this: they had started to face a shortage of edible things. They stop on an island in the sea because they did not sail ahead. There they met a captain who had also come there for whaling. They all meet that man, and he tells the last story of his hunting. He says that we had reached the heart of the sea, where they encounter the biggest whale in the sea, and that whale was the tallest and biggest, which has been named Great Whale. But Great Whale attacked their ship, which left it destroyed. It fractured one hand and an arm of the captain, and the rest of his companions were also dead, but they don't take it seriously, thinking he is fabricating a story. So that captain leaves from there, but now they have become covetous. They should sail to that part of the sea where the great whale is present. After this, they sail ahead to reach that part of the sea. Then the story takes place exactly 14 months later. After a great voyage, they finally reach the part of the sea that was told to them by the captain, and a great whale is also there. They all sail there, taking their weapons and boats. They are still sailing ahead when Owen's boat is attacked by someone. Consequently, they fall into the water from the boat. For the first time, they witness a great whale there. This whale was the same, according to the story told by the captain. Then the great whale began to leave, but Owen's companions were still seated in the boat. When they get a chance, they attack one of the whales. They are able to end the whale, but the great whale notices them for doing so, so it directly attacks their ship by moving there. As a result, the ship begins to sink. George was also observing this, sitting in the boat. Leaving that whale there, he starts moving to his ship. George commands everyone to leave the ship soon because it is going to sink. They have all boarded the boats now, and they get the edible things, which they found by chance. In the following morning, it is seen that they were observing the sea map. But it had become a tough row to hoe, because they had again been caught in a sea storm. In this sea storm, Owen's childhood friend is also badly injured. Now the time begins to pass, and Owen used to assist his wounded friend, while Owen's rest of the companions were just taking him as a burden, otherwise nothing else. Then the story takes place after 1 month, where their edible things had also ended. They were nearly going to die while facing the worst conditions. Then their companion glimpses a land. Being satisfied, they begin to sail towards that land. Owen feels something when they are going to reach the shore. It was not the other thing but a great whale, which damages their boats while striking them. Then they reach the shore of the sea with the speed of the ocean waves, and their condition was not worse than an animal's. It means that they were eating whatever they could get for their survival while on the island. Then George asks his companion to ignite the fire. The reason behind it is that any ship in the sea will take them away upon seeing it. It was an unpopulated and barren island where they were staying. One day, they find a cave there in search of food. There were a number of human skeletons. It indicates that people had become trapped there while coming. But no one arrived for their help, so they were thinking as they will also be dead like these humans. Then they start to repair their damaged boats after deciding to leave. Some of the people among them plan to inhabit the island, and Owen's childhood friend was also among them. But Owen promises his friend while going that he will come back after bringing help for him. Then the story starts after 48 days. Those people's conditions were the worst, and they were hardly living in the starvation. Then it is shown that one of the companions is dead. Then Owen's friend was going to throw his dead body into the sea. Then they take a mysterious decision. They decide to eat his dead body rather than throw it away. It was a heavy burden for them, but they also had no choice but to accept it. We all get worried because of this decision, but they had to do something for their survival. They were helpless as a result of being caught in such a situation, so they eat the flesh of their friend. The story of the current time is shown again, where the aged Thomas comes on the scene. Where Thomas was dejected as they had to eat the flesh of their own companion, but Owen's wife also reaches there while crying. She was grieved after hearing the poignant story of her husband. Then she says to Thomas to reveal the rest of the story. Then the time after 1 month is shown after that has happened, where those people were straying in the sea. They were entrapped. They were in the worst condition because of the starvation, so they play a game under pressure with one another in order to live, in which a loser was ended. Later, all the companions used to eat his flesh collaboratively. One day, that captain, George, loses his game, giving a gun to his cousin, George. He asks him to fire it on me. Kill me. But George's cousin kills himself rather than fire a gun on him, and the rest of the people ate his flesh. One day, they again catch sight of that great whale. Then Owen is about to attack that whale. At the same time, Owen looks into that whale's eye, so Owen does not attack that whale, and it also leaves from there. Many days later, a ship is shown, and those on board look at the boat of George, so they help them. When the ship's captain observes it, there are human skeletons, so he is left shocked, and that boat of Owen and Thomas had separated from another boat. Owen and Thomas were in critical condition and were dying. Then Owen notices a ship, and they call that ship their support, and they get rid of this critical situation. At last, they are brought into their house after some days, having survived them, where the natives are surprised to see them, because they had estimated that they would have been dead a long time ago. Owen's wife was also waiting for him there. Owen's wife comes to him, and they both meet. On the same day, Owen and Thomas also met with each other, where Owen gifts his whale pin to Thomas as his memory. After this, company management calls Owen and George, in order to hear the story that they faced in the sea. Owen begins to leave from there because their story was surely not trusted. Owen says to George while going, "Perform your duty as a captain. Reveal the truth to them." In the beginning, George tells a lie, then he reveals the truth later. But the members of the company tell the fabricated story. After this, Owen is shown. Now Owen had a new life, so he begins his new life perfectly, and he also sent a boat for his friend on the island, according to his promise. But it was too late because Owen's friend was no more. Here the story of Thomas is accomplished. Thomas asks after telling the story, "Will you reveal it before the world?" The writer replies, "Yeah. But I will give a new turn to this story. That will be based on what really happened." Afterwards, the time is shown after many months. It is shown here that the writer wrote the book and he became renowned, and the movie also completes this scene.